performance underscores the real-world utility that we've been talking about at this desk for the last 2 days, and major enterprise adoption that has been showcased here at Stellar Meridian as well. Major announcements from partners like MoneyGram and PayPal are demonstrating how the network is being used as a foundational layer from everything from next-generation remittances to institutional-grade tokenized assets.
Here's the brutal truth about crypto in 2025, and I'm not sugarcoating it for you. 97% of you watching, listening, or reading this right now are still going to fail. I don't care how bullish you feel when your bags are green, or how many macro charts you've reposted. The odds are stacked against you. You'll get chopped up. You'll get used as exit liquidity. You'll buy the top, sell the bottom, and end up walking away with a fraction of what you put in. It's a cycle as old as this market itself. 1 minute you're euphoric, thinking, this is it. This is the bull run that changes my life. This is financial freedom. The next, you're staring at a sea of red candles, paralyzed, refreshing your phone at 3 a.m., asking yourself, what the hell just happened? How did I lose 40% in 3 days? And let me make this very clear. It's not an accident. It's not just bad luck or market swings. No, it's by design. The market is literally engineered to transfer wealth from the 97%, you guys, the average retail traders, to the 3%. Now, here's the secret they don't want you to know. The institutions, the insiders, the whales, they run this game with rules you're not playing by. And 2025 has only made it worse. ETFs are here. BlackRock, Fidelity, Vanguard, they're scooping up Bitcoin, scooping up Ethereum, quietly laying down the rails of the next financial system while retail is still gambling on meme coins. You think you're early? You think your little 10x play is special? No, they're building infrastructure, not gambling. And if you want to survive this cycle, you've got to start thinking like them. Look at what's happening right now. Bitcoin's been trading sideways, ETH sideways, altcoins chopping up people left and right. Everyone's arguing. September is bearish, October will pump, November will moon. Nonsense. 97% will be wrong because 97% always are. The truth is, the market doesn't care about your little calendar theories. Cares about liquidity. Cares about psychology. It cares about who's patient enough to think in years instead of weeks. That's the first rule of the 3% long-term thinking. But let me put this in a real-world perspective because too many of you live in charts, not reality. While everyone's screaming rectember, while retail is panic selling their ETH bags because some influencer posted a red arrow on TradingView, what's happening in the real world? BlackRock just passed 1.4 million ETH held through their ETF products. Do you seriously think they believe Ethereum is dead because of a red week? No, they're playing a decades-long game. They're not here for likes on Twitter. They're here to quietly accumulate while you hand them your bags at a discount. And it's not just Bitcoin and Ethereum. Do you know where the real action is? The payment rails, stablecoins, remittances, cross-border settlement. The boring stuff that 97% of you don't even look at because it doesn't sound sexy. But let me tell you something, the boring stuff is where the money is. In 2024, stablecoin volume hit $27.6 trillion. Read that again, $27.6 trillion. More than Visa and MasterCard combined. And that wasn't even a blow-off top year. That was a building year. That was institutions battle-testing the rails of the future. And right in the middle of that, do you know who's sitting there silently building? Stellar. Yeah, I said it. XLM. While you're obsessing over meme coins, Stellar partnered with MoneyGram to create the most underrated bridge in crypto today. Do you understand how big that is? People in 170-plus countries can walk into a MoneyGram store, hand over cash, and walk out with USDC on Stellar. Or swap their stable coins back to fiat instantly. That's not a narrative, that's real-world usage happening right now. And it's being ignored because you guys are too busy trying to 100x some illiquid dog token. Think about that for a second. In Nigeria, in Mexico, in the Philippines, in places where banking is a nightmare, Stellar plus MoneyGram has literally turned crypto into a usable tool, not just a speculation vehicle. That's the difference between coins that live and coins that die. Because when regulators crack down, when liquidity dries up, When the hype shifts, the projects with real-world rails survive. And Stellar is one of them. Now let me hammer this home. If you think the institutions don't see what's happening with Stellar and MoneyGram, you're kidding yourself. They see it. They see stablecoin rails replacing Western Union. They see billions in remittances shifting onto blockchain. And here's the brutal truth. They want you distracted. They want you chasing shiny coins, so you miss the actual infrastructure being laid down under your nose. 2025 is not 2021. Back then, anyone could throw darts at a board and make money. The liquidity was endless. The money printer was on. This cycle, you need strategy. You need conviction. You need to understand the rails, the infrastructure, the bridges between retail and enterprise. Because this isn't just about what pumps tomorrow. This is about who controls the rails of money 10 years from now. And Stellar, with MoneyGram, is already proving it has a seat at the table. And don't think I'm saying this as a maxi. I'm saying this because I'm tired of seeing retail get slaughtered. I made those mistakes myself. I chased hype. I ignored the boring rails. I thought I was a genius until the market humbled me. I've seen 7 figures of profit evaporate because I didn't think like the 3%. That pain burned a lesson into my brain. Stop chasing, start building. Stop gambling, start acting like an investor. So when I tell you that Stellar plus MoneyGram is one of the most important developments in this space, I'm not hyping, I'm warning. Because if you don't start paying attention to infrastructure plays like that, you will keep losing. Institutions aren't here for memes. They're here for rails. And the rails are already being built right under your nose. And that's just the start. Because as we move forward in 2025, the next layer isn't just Stellar moving retail remittances. It's about how enterprise-grade networks like Hedera slot in to handle the back end. But we'll get to that. For now, I need you to internalize this. The market is designed to wreck 97% of you. If you want to even stand a chance of surviving, you've got to stop thinking short-term, stop chasing dopamine, and start studying what the 3% are actually doing. They're not talking. They're not tweeting. They're building rails. And Stellar plus MoneyGram is proof. Alright, now that we've ripped the band-aid off and admitted 97% of people will get wrecked, let's talk about how the 3% actually think. Because it's not magic. It's not luck. It's mindset, it's discipline, and it's execution. First rule. They think long-term. Everyone else is obsessing over what September or October might do. But the 3% don't care. They're not sweating over a daily candle. They're not glued to red and green charts like addicts. They're looking years out, building positions in projects they know will still be here when the dust clears. And that's the mindset you need. Look, if you hold something like Stellar and you genuinely believe in its mission, why do you care what happens next month? Do you think MoneyGram is going to shut down the partnership because of a bad week of price action? No, the rails are already there. People in 170 countries can literally use Stellar to move money right now. That's real adoption. That's what the 3% lock into. But here's the twist: in 2025, you can't just look at retail rails anymore. You've got to think about what happens on the institutional side. This is where Hedera comes in. The 3% understand that retail access and enterprise settlement are two sides of the same coin. Stellar gives the unbanked and the underbanked access to digital dollars. Hedera gives enterprises and governments a trusted, enterprise-grade network to actually move billions without worrying about downtime, compliance, or scalability. Do you see the pattern here? The 3% aren't playing meme lotteries. They're looking at rails. They're asking, who moves money, who settles money, who builds trust? That's why when they look at Stellar, they see the front end. When they look at Hedera, they see the back end. Together, it's a system. And let me be blunt. The 97% don't plan. They FOMO in on entries, they dream about 100x, but they never plan their exits. They never write down a strategy. The 3%, they have concrete exit points. They rotate when dominance shifts. They scale out not emotionally but mechanically. That's how they protect their gains. So what do? You stop treating this like a casino. You stop chasing dopamine. You start treating it like a business. If you had a business and you were bleeding money every month, you wouldn't just hope it turned around. You'd sit down, restructure, cut cut waste and focus on what works. That's how you have to treat your portfolio. The 3% are not here to gamble, they're here to compound. And in 2025, compounding doesn't mean finding the next Shiba. It means stacking infrastructure plays like Stellar and Hedera. Retail rails plus enterprise rails. MoneyGram in the middle. That's the formula. That's how you survive. Here's where most people mess up. They think crypto adoption is going to look like some massive overnight event. Like one morning, Starbucks will suddenly announce you can buy a latte with Bitcoin and boom, we're mainstream. That's a fantasy. The truth? Adoption is messy, layered, and it usually comes through the back door. Comes through systems you don't even notice: remittance, settlement, back-end transfers. That's why most of the 97% never see it coming until it's already too late. Let's talk Stellar and MoneyGram. This isn't hype, it's already live. Millions of people across the globe can walk into a MoneyGram location and on-ramp or off-ramp digital dollars through the Stellar network. Think about that for a second. A farmer in rural Africa or a gig worker in the Philippines can receive USDC on Stellar, cash it out through MoneyGram, and skip the traditional banking chokehold entirely. That's adoption. That's what it looks like when crypto actually solves a problem. Now stack Hedera into the picture. While Stellar is busy handling these retail rails, Hedera is working with enterprises, governments, and institutions. They're not chasing hype. They're building the infrastructure for tokenized assets, CBDCs, and real-time settlement. If Stellar is the cash register, Hedera is the accounting system. They don't compete. They complement. And MoneyGram? They sit in the middle as the bridge, proving this hybrid model actually works. But here's the kicker: the 97% ignore this. Why? Because it's not flashy. Because they can't see the immediate moonshot. They'd rather chase the next meme pump, hoping lightning strikes twice, while the 3% are stacking positions in networks that are literally threading themselves into the global financial system. Think about how powerful that positioning is. You've got Stellar making sure everyday people can touch digital money without needing a tech degree. You've got Hedera making sure the world's biggest institutions can run tokenized operations without breaking. And you've got MoneyGram as proof of concept, already connecting the two worlds. That's adoption in motion, not theory, not hype, but real-world use. The 3% understand something the 97% refuse to learn. Adoption isn't about a white paper or a roadmap tweet. It's about utility you can point to. It's about rails you can use today. It's about partners that actually execute. When you lock into that mindset, you stop chasing noise and you start stacking conviction plays. Because at the end of the day, when adoption finally clicks in the mainstream, it's not going to feel like a revolution. It's going to feel like a slow shift that was obvious in hindsight. And the ones who saw it early, the ones who understood Stellar, Hedera, and the MoneyGram link, those will be the 3% who make it through. Here's the truth: you don't need to overcomplicate this. Adoption is already here, just not in the way most people expect. Stellar is running the retail rails, giving people everywhere access to digital dollars they can actually use. Hedera is powering the enterprise rails, giving institutions the speed, security, and trust they need to tokenize everything from currencies to supply chains. And sitting right in the middle, MoneyGram. That bridge is already live, already moving value across borders without the noise. The 97% don't see it because they're too busy looking at charts, praying for the next pump. But the 3%, they're paying attention to the rails being laid down right under their feet. That's where the conviction comes from. That's why they're not shaken out by hype cycles or headlines. Because when the system clicks into place, and it won't feel like a big announcement. It'll feel like it's always been there. And if you've positioned yourself right, if you've studied the rails and stacked conviction plays like XLM and HBAR, you're not just watching the shift. You're part of it. Listen, if you're still here watching this, it means you're not part of the 97% who just chase hype and walk away broke. You're part of the few who actually want to understand the rails being built underneath this entire system. And that's exactly why I need you to do 3 quick things right now. First, smash that like button so this message spreads, because the algorithm is not going to push crypto truth unless we force it. Second, hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because every time I drop a new breakdown on Stellar, Hedera, or the MoneyGram connection, you're going to want to be first in line. Third, drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me if you're holding XLM, HBAR, or both, and what you see coming next. I read every single one, and your take might end up in the next video. And let me be real with you, this isn't entertainment, this is survival in the markets of 2025. If you want to stay ahead of the 97%, this channel is where you sharpen your edge. So don't just watch, join the movement.